So when we asked about Kash Patel as the nominee for FBI director and the possibility of investigating or prosecuting Trump's political opponents, we heard a lot of these first-time Trump voters struggle with that a bit. Let's listen, starting with one woman talking about Patel's FBI investigating Trump's opponents.
All right, this is pretty wild. Sarah Longwell with the Bulwark held a focus group of Biden 2020 voters who then converted and voted for Trump in 2024, and you see some common themes among the way that they think. They're all able to endlessly justify Kash Patel targeting political opponents because they've been perfectly primed by Donald Trump to think that he has already been targeted as such. So they all say that Democrats already set this precedent of targeting political opponents. Number one, we haven't done that. I'll demonstrate that in a second. But also, who set this precedent first? As far as I can remember, it was Donald Trump chanting to lock Hillary Clinton up, getting the entire RNC to chant the same exact thing. Obama didn't do anything like that. Bush didn't do anything like that. I mean, Bush was not a good president, but he didn't do anything like that. Trump was the one who initially introduced the weaponization of the justice system. And then even when his campaign was being investigated for Russia, that's because there were actual signs that there was collusion. Paul Manafort was actually arrested for that. So it's just insane that they try to compare these things. And when it comes to Kash Patel, just so you guys know, this dude has a list of roughly 60 people who he thinks are members of the deep state. And his definition of the deep state means you didn't go along with Trump's 2020 election lie. People like Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, Bill Barr, anybody who pushed back against Trump's lies, which is like the vast majority of our institutions, Kash Patel defines as the deep state. So when he says he wants to come in and clean house, that means 95% of the people in our institutions he wants to clean house because they think the election wasn't stolen. All of the 60 plus courts that push back on Donald Trump, all of the Republican allies, people like Kemp from Georgia, a lifelong Republican who voted for Trump in 2016 and in 2020, even said, dude, there's no evidence of election fraud on the scale that you're saying. Now, critics say that Patel does not have the managerial experience to run the FBI and that his rise has been primarily fueled by his willingness to spread unproven conspiracy theories just to help Donald Trump. He has a list of deep state members ranging from top Trump political adversaries such as Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Hillary Clinton to even lifelong Republicans like Bill Barr and John Bolton who just pushed back against the election fraud lie. Okay, now that you guys know that, and now that you guys know that Trump was not targeted by any Democrats, every single indictment brought against Trump was brought against him by a grand jury of his peers. That grand jury went through all of the evidence and decided there was enough evidence to bring it to trial. That is how the justice system works. He was not targeted in any sense, and that's important to know before we jump into this. Also, Merry Christmas Eve to everybody who celebrates. Happy Hanukkah if you celebrate. Whatever you celebrate, make sure you spend some great time with your family, and let me know if you're excited for all the great broadcasts in 2025 because we are about to kill it. We're about to do some great stuff in a time that may get tumultuous. So let's listen to this.
Let's listen, starting with one woman talking about Patel's FBI investigating Trump's opponents.
I think if he does, good for him because they've been doing that on the Democratic side for everybody else that is more of a Trump supporter. So tit for tat, I guess.
Tit for tat, she says. I'm assuming when she's talking about Trump supporters being targeted by the system, she's talking about the seditious conspiracy charges that Enrique Tarrio got hit with because he directed his Proud Boys to storm the Capitol while Mike Pence was certifying the election results. You guys already know that. But they have this skewed perception of reality, and they start to struggle with it at a few points. There's a few points where the Trump supporters don't know whether the justice system should be targeting people, shouldn't be targeting people, and that's because they don't have Joe Rogan to guide them through that. Joe Rogan plants these conspiratorial seeds, and what you guys need to understand is that his show is not even inherently political or right-wing. 95% of the time, he's talking about average bro stuff, but that's why it's so effective when he slips in these right-wing talking points, because people trust him on so many other things within their life. So when he's saying that Trump is being targeted, that Enrique Tarrio is being targeted, he's probably somebody that thinks Enrique Tarrio is in jail for nothing. He wasn't even in DC. Keep in mind, Osama bin Laden wasn't in America during 9/11, but we can still draw the direct line between what Osama bin Laden did and the hijackers. Clearly, it's the same argument with Enrique Tarrio, but let's continue to listen.
My gut is yes, like investigate them. But I think we've gotten into now a dangerous precedent where we're using the legal system to go after political opponents. And I think we need to move away from that. Not saying they shouldn't be held to the same justice system that all of us are, but I think a lot of times now we fall into the trap where we're going after people just because they're a political candidate for a different party. And I I think it's dangerous to keep doing that.
You don't want this to turn into like a vendetta, right? Personal vendetta and revenge and that sort of thing. But if there is an injustice that's taking place and our institutions, that we rely on to protect us and to uphold justice, if there's corruption on that end, that needs to be found out. That needs to be routed out.
Again, that woman said it sets a dangerous precedent. Yeah, who set the precedent in the first place? Did Obama go after anyone? No. Did Bush? No. Did Clinton? No. Trump was the one who ran on lock her up. And then President Biden was very, very stern. He said, I'm not going to put my hand in the justice system. Never once has he communicated with the people running these cases. If anything, if there is any politicization of the Justice Department, it's Merrick Garland slow-walking these cases because he was scared to look political in the first place. That is the real weaponization of the Justice Department. I mean, every single other developed democracy would immediately make sure that that person is disqualified from running again. And yes, that there are investigations after somebody tried to coup the effing government. If somebody did that in any one of our allied countries, they would immediately be kicked off the ballot. And the fact that Merrick Garland slow-walked the case, that's the real incompetence. But let's continue to look.
That can't go on. That's a big part of the problem that we're facing, is corruption on a systemic level in so many ways.
So far, with the information that I could gather about Cash being the FBI nominee, I'm excited to see what's coming, because I think there's a lot of information that needs to come out. And just in general, having like that fourth branch of government, I think it's kind of been going the wrong way for a long time. And the fact that it doesn't feel like the government really serving people.
Oh, honey, if you don't think the government is serving the people now, wait until the cabinet is full of Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance. These are all people with a minimum net worth of like $500 million. It's the richest cabinet in modern history. So we'll see who's serving the people here. But it's kind of weird because all of these people are approaching in good faith. Like, are these people that are speaking bad people? No, most of them are probably just busy. They work all day, every day. They just want to go to the gym after and then go chill the hell out and listen to Joe Rogan on their way to work. I don't blame them for not being incessant CNN or MeidasTouch consumers. Not everybody has to be, but I think it's indicative of the Democrats sort of losing a grasp on the new media ecosystem when almost every single person is able to latch on to this conspiratorial thinking and not hear any pushback. I mean, if Pete Buttigieg went on Joe Rogan's podcast just a few times, I always say that he could probably undo a lot of the harm Charlie Kirk has done among young men. This is where it starts to get more interesting. Let's go back to this.
But a lot of secrets being kept away from people for their own protection, I think it's kind of getting too much and people are getting tired of it.
I don't think that it's going to be politicized and he's going to go after people that need to be prosecuted. And I feel like he has the credentials and just the wherewithal to actually approach certain situations without being hesitant. I think that he has a serious demeanor that we need for that specific position. So
I'm a big fan. I feel like he's not some lifetime bureaucrat and that he's going to get in there and kind of make the FBI about what it should be, and it's not going to be politicized anymore. Yeah, that he's not going to be afraid to prosecute who needs to be prosecuted. I guess my main thing is I don't think it's going to be politicized anymore, and that's exciting for me.
That's a wild thing to say back to back. And listen, the same guy says more. He's uncertain in a second, but he said, I don't want it to be politicized anymore. He just has to go after who he has to go after. I mean, his list is inherently a political list. Kash Patel, again, has a list of roughly 60 people who he said were members of the deep state. And he wrote this list in a memoir last year. He thinks all of these people need to be targeted. That's inherently political. That's the definition of weaponizing our Justice Department.
I'm a little torn on it. Maybe I should have said it shouldn't be weaponized rather than politicized. I'm a little torn on it. I think Trump had a good comment the other day about he wasn't going to go after Biden because he wants to look forward, not in the past. However, the other side of that is maybe they need to be investigated so this kind of stuff never happens again. So set a precedent so it can't happen again.
What kind of stuff can never happen again? The reason why Trump isn't investigating Biden is the same reason he didn't investigate Hillary in 2016. It's because there's no actual evidence of Biden having any wrongdoing. And the thing is, it's not even about Liz Cheney being thrown in a jail cell. That's not even... It doesn't even have to be that extreme. It's not Liz Cheney being tied up and put on camera. It's more of just these endless investigations that make these people's lives a living hell. Hunter Biden is a really good example. There were years and years of sham trials investigating Hunter Biden for smoking weed while owning a gun. Just trial after trial about him and Ukraine. And that's what they do to people like Liz Cheney. They make their lives a living hell. They dig through everything. There's ways to weaponize the IRS, and it doesn't have to be Liz Cheney being locked up. I mean, there's definitely a reality where that happens in a few years. And if it did, I don't even know if these people would care. They would think it was just tit for tat, like that person said earlier. I'll make more videos breaking this down. I'm incredibly grateful for you guys on this Christmas night. Go chill out. Go enjoy time with your family. Watch a movie. Do whatever you need to. Love you guys. Peace out.